Welcome to the Shootin The Que Podcast, presented by Heath Riles BBQ, with tips, tricks, and an inside look with some of the top pitmasters in the game. Now here's your host, Heath Riles.
Hey folks, we're joined today by Brian Corbett of Smokin Skullies. How are you doing today, Brian?
I'm doing good, buddy. How about y'all?
Man, it's one of those things where the weather's turning, a little bit of crisp fall in the air.
Yep.
I'm ready for hunting season.
I'm real ready for hunting season. I've been one time so far this year.
Well, so for everybody that don't know you, tell us a little bit about Smokin Skullies, who you are, and how you got started in barbecue.
Okay. Brian Corbett is my name. Smokin Skullies BBQ team out of Goldsboro, North Carolina. It's the eastern part of the state, so more on the coastal side, about an hour and 20 minutes east of Raleigh, if everybody's familiar with Raleigh. Started cooking barbecue 2011, went to a barbecue contest my brother-in-law was in, and I used to love tailgating, man. I was always the grill guy tailgating, and never knew what competition barbecue was, so went to this barbecue contest. And tailgating football games, they give you 4 or 5 hours, then you got to either go to the game or go home. I went there, and they was tailgating what looked like to me tailgating for 3 days. And I was like, wait a minute, you can tailgate for 3 days, but all you got to do is cook a little bit of barbecue. And he was like, kind of like that, but not really like that. He said, it's more serious on the barbecue side. And I said, well, shit, I can just tailgate. I don't care about the barbecue. Cooked one contest, got 2 calls. Tuffy and Myron was there. That was the most expensive day of my life, I think.
That's what we always say.
And here I am 12 years later, and at the Royal Oak Invitational, loving it. So still enjoying it. It's just become a passion of mine now. Now I don't even tailgate.
Wow. So I have to ask this every time I hear those comments like that about how somebody got started in barbecue and you won those trophies. And I'm assuming they were just small bowling trophies, probably,
Little bowling
right?
trophies, yeah.
So what would you say was an estimate you spent the first year after you won those bowling trophies on barbecue, on buying stuff for barbecue contests?
Depends on if my wife is going to listen to this podcast or not. If she listens to it, it was very little. It was very minimal. If she don't listen to it, it was, I probably spent, if you count entry fees and meat and everything, because that was 2011.
Any pits bought in between that and the...
Multiple pits. I have a pit obsession. Now it's even greater than it was. But yeah, first year, man, I probably spent $5,000 to $8,000, and that was not on, an outlaw stick burner like I cook on or anything like that. It was a Traeger, and I built my own drums. One of them. In fact, my first contest, funny story, I built a drum on Wednesday, threw chicken wings on it that night, loaded it up Friday morning, and headed to that very first contest. Didn't know how to cook on one. Used kitchen magnets, refrigerator magnets, as my air dampers for the holes at the bottom. I'd slide the magnet over. It was hotter than hell.
Wow.
Yep.
I mean, but, cutting your teeth in barbecue now, how do you feel like barbecue's impacted your life?
Oh, it's impacted my life tremendously, not just on the barbecue side, but personal side. I got friendships across the country. You guys, never would have met you probably a day in my life. And if I would have passed you somewhere in the airport, wouldn't have known who you were. If I didn't follow social media or something and was not in barbecue. Got friends all over the country. I mean, I always say I can be anywhere in the United States of America, get a flat tire or something go wrong on the side of the road, and somebody's within 200 miles. I can put on Facebook, and it's going to be a barbecue person going to show up and help me out. Help me business-wise, because it gives me, and I do real estate, so it gives me a little bit of an identity outside of real estate, so it becomes a conversation piece. People meet me and they're, around our area, and they go, man, ain't you that guy that cooks a little? Yep, sure am. And I just talk about your house. And he's like, no, man, let's talk brisket. And right then I know I got the business. I mean, it's over. Like, you're putty in my hands at this point, kind of thing. But just because we can build a
personal relationship
with that person, is not just about the business. So it's helped me and impacted my life in a lot of different ways. My kid is 12 now. He's grown up in barbecue. I've been doing this for 12 years, and he's been to Willie Nelson concerts. You know what I mean? At the Banjo BBQ when Willie Nelson was there, and Old Crow Medicine Show. I mean, he's been in places that most kids his age have never been to, and probably will never go to.
That's kind of the same way we feel. We've been in places that we never should have been if it wasn't for we were involved with barbecue. I mean, just talking before we, fired up the camera here, just being in Key West, at that event before. I would have never found myself at something like that if it wouldn't have been for barbecue.
Most people wouldn't, Most people would. I mean, you might find yourself in Key West, but you're certainly not cooking barbecue on the water.
Yeah,
you know. Yep.
8 to 10 miles out, on a sandbar.
That's so badass.
So how many contests do you cook a year approximately?
The
and
most I've
what
ever done, I think, was
contests?
21. Now I'm down to around 12-ish. My kid's playing a lot of travel soccer
Yeah.
and school soccer. And, last year he made a school basketball team, hoping he will again this year. So, that's kind of taking its toll a little bit. As my real estate business has grown, you have to put a little more time into that because that is what pays the bills, not just the
Right.
barbecue bills. But, so now I'm down to 12 to 14,
And is that
depending on geography.
primarily KCBS?
Just about all KCBS. Yeah, but I'll do a couple of North Carolina Pork Council whole hogs around the house. There's a big SCA movement right now, the steak movement in North Carolina. So there's 5 or 6 contests within 30 minutes of my house, this year. And so New Year's they're doing a triple.
Oh, wow.
And
You ever cooked a triple?
I've never cooked a triple. It's a triple SCA, but it's a 3-day triple.
Oh, SCA.
It's a SCA.
Never mind.
3-day triple.
Anybody.
No, I know
can do it.
Randall did a KCBS triple a few years back, and I almost signed up for it, and I thought better of myself. That might would have run me like slam out of barbecue.
I did it.
Did you do it?
And I'm going to tell you what, turning in 2 boxes at the identical same time, 2 chicken boxes, 2 rib boxes, 2 pork boxes. It was fine when it was chicken and ribs.
When it
but
got
when it
to
got to the pork box, brother, you understand how
Oh,
that
yes.
was trying
That's
to
the one I
build 2
spend the
pork
most time
boxes.
on.
Me too. I'm a 20-minute man when
Yep.
it's on a pork box.
Yep.
And then rolling in the brisket, he felt like he got a little bit of relaxation, but even just turning in 2 at the same time, the slices could have come out of 1 brisket.
Oh, yeah.
For me, it didn't. I'm
Right.
cooking 2 and 2 and 2
Yeah.
and 2 on everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a triple it was 2 on Saturday and then a single on
Yeah.
Sunday, and I've never been so glad for a contest to be over as I was that Sunday.
I can only imagine. I've done doubles. They're not my favorite thing in the world because it does take a lot of extra work. It's a little extra money, not a great deal of extra money, but it's just a lot of extra work, and barbecue's supposed to be fun. Winning is fun, but the camaraderie and the relationships and, being able to sit around a solo stove if it's cool outside is the fun part, and a double is just, it's hammer down. I mean, you turn in Saturday and you're turning right back around, injecting, rubbing, getting your pit refired, redone, all that kind of good stuff, and it can take its toll. So I'm not a big fan of doubles, but I do a couple of them a year.
Yeah, it's definitely different. What would you say has been your most prestigious, or the one contest that you just every year that's the one you want to go to, you can't miss?
Your favorite.
Your favorite contest.
I've got 3 or 4. This one is one of my favorites. I won this one 2 years ago, the Royal Oak Invitational, and just to be invited back here, I mean, they sponsor a lot of teams, and, they have to go through a list and try to figure out who they want to be invited. So to be invited means something, and then because I won it 2 years ago, it means something even more to me. Then there's a handful of regular contests. The Jiggy with the Piggy in Kannapolis is one of my favorites that Eddie Smith puts on. Town of Kannapolis does a tremendous job with that contest. Greenwood, South Carolina, the Festival of Discovery.
I've heard about that contest.
That's probably my favorite, what I call regular contest. And Julie will probably send me a text and go, "We're not a regular contest," But they do a fantastic job. The town really comes out and supports it. They got bands going Friday all day, night, Saturday all day. Local restaurants. I mean, they really cater to you. That's probably my favorite contest. Those 2 are top notch for me. Outside of this one. And then the Royal's always a fun time, but it's just a lot of work, a lot of money.
Long haul.
And a long haul, brother.
It's usually hot, too.
And it was hot this year. It was so hot. I carried hoodies and jeans and near about need to go buy some shorts and T-shirts. Thank God I had enough of them. So I was in my RV, so I had more clothes than I needed. But yeah, it was a long haul. We left Sunday morning and got back the following Tuesday morning.
How many hours is it across for you there?
It's, according to the GPS, it's a little better than 20. By the time you stop for gas and food and just stretch the legs and, all that, it's
24, 26 hours.
26, yeah.
That's a long drive.
Yeah, it's brutal. I mean, it's beautiful. The drive back sucks.
Oh, I'm sure.
So you're tired.
It's always a drive back that sucks.
Sunday morning here, leaving here is going to be, it's like, oh man, are we kidding? I'm never going to get there. You know. So,
I know exactly how that is too.
Do you have a favorite trophy that you think is unique out of any contest?
I do. So Lexington, North Carolina, one of meccas of barbecue across the country. I had a contest a few years, and I won that one back in 2014, I think it was. And it was a hand carved. The guy took a slab of wood, probably 6 inches, and he carved and hand painted the flames and Lexington barbecue, and it's a really cool trophy. City of Rocky Mount, North Carolina, they have these blown glass. You've probably seen them online. It was just last weekend. These hand blown glass flames they do. I mean, the grand champion, it'll be 3-4 foot tall.
Wow.
Hand blown glass flame on this base. It's really cool.
I love unique trophies. I always like to ask.
People always ask me sometimes you get asked, what's the purse at this contest you're going to? What's the purse? And I go, I don't know, man, those trophies are badass.
Yeah, exactly.
We used to go to contests just for the trophies. I'm like, I want that trophy.
I want that one.
I want it.
And some of those contests that we're talking about, I mean, even if you won the whole thing, you weren't going to make up what you spent getting there.
A lot of times
but it
they're
was
not.
just the contest. They did a lot for the teams.
Yep.
Great hospitality. And
Absolutely.
The trophies made it worth it.
Galax, Virginia has fiddles.
Yeah, we have a few.
They got those fiddles.
We got a banjo, we got mandolin, and we got, I think it's 11
I didn't get the
fiddles.
banjo.
It's 11 fiddles at home.
We have a lot.
11.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, but
we
see,
do have
y'all did a lot of the NBN along with the KCBS. Y'all did both.
Yes.
We granted in reserve at one year.
Yeah, you did.
We have some other musical, like we have guitars from Nashville.
That's cool.
Gold
Nashville.
records.
Gold
That's cool.
records. And those are not
Electric.
even, I mean, those are really cool, but those, I wouldn't consider those my personal favorite.
We have a Gibson electric guitar that I won in Nashville.
No
A
kidding.
real Gibson electric
That's
guitar.
cool.
We were actually talking to somebody last night. My favorite trophies, there was a NBN contest in Newton, Mississippi, and they have like a mental health hospital there. And it's primarily children. So the children make these. They're concrete pigs, but they're mosaic tiles.
Really?
So they're all handmade, and they all have different colors or patterns or just whatever those kids felt like doing that
What
day.
they see is what they make.
So
That's
they're
cool.
all very unique and really cool, and those are my favorite trophies, I think. And that contest, it doesn't happen anymore. So
Yeah.
They used to take reclaimed wood from like old buildings and put the gold tags on them and do it.
Yep.
And all of the category trophies would be pigs kind of sitting on the butt, on their rear end, setting up with all the mosaic art. The grand champion would be a pig standing
up
on all fours.
and they are heavy.
And it's a solid concrete pig. And so you can imagine that after the mosaic art and then painting it up and doing all that, it's just,
It's really cool.
Take 2 people to move it.
yes, that contest don't happen anymore. It used to be you'd have to wait on the train. They would tell you at the cook's meeting if the train was coming and you were standing at the train tracks and you couldn't make a turn in the box, just when the train passed, come on, turn in the box.
You had to walk over the train tracks to get to the turn-in.
To the turn in.
It was just an old little town.
Yeah.
All the old ladies and older couples and from the church and whatnot, the town all made a big potluck on Friday night. And so it was like going to a Sunday potluck at the church on a Friday night, which was totally awesome. It was one of the best meals.
Yeah.
You can imagine all the little old ladies in town cooking.
Yeah. It was like going to homecoming at church just on Friday night at the barbecue.
Man, squash
contest.
casserole, a potato salad, meatloaf. These women laid it out.
They did.
But that was just one of those.
And you want to eat the ones out of the actual Pyrex dishes, not the disposable pans, because you know that dish has been in that family a long time. That woman knows how to cook.
That's exactly right.
And the other thing with that contest we were talking about last night with somebody, like I said, first place you got a Lazy Boy recliner because they had a Lazy Boy factory or something
that's
there.
Cool.
So they would always have
right
they would always have recliners, and you got to pick which one you wanted.
We swept all 3 categories and won the
got
grand
3 of
champion. No, 4. We wound up with 4 recliners.
Pretty
Did
cool.
you really? You can almost set you up a theater room with your recliners at the house.
That was a crazy time.
But
There used to be really good prizes. There's contests now in the Delta that does reclaimed wood out of the Mississippi River.
Really?
And they rework the reclaimed wood, and every grand
That's
champion
cool.
trophy is unique.
yeah,
That is really cool.
And we went after some of those, and just the
Absolutely.
knotty wood, how they come up, and they've put bases on top of them and integrated them and made.
some of those have like special pottery too, made just for that. Like the pottery maker lives in Mississippi and usually makes certain pottery animals, but only makes this specific one for these trophies.
That's cool.
So that's kind of a cool
That
thing,
is
too.
really cool.
But I'm sure there's tons of contests out there that do all kinds of
Well, there
unique-
is. I see. I mean, we're not able to go everywhere,
Yeah.
and especially being on the East Coast. But you see people, friends of ours on social media, that end up posting pictures after their and you're like, man, that's a really cool trophy. Where's that at? And it's like Arizona. I'm not gonna go to Arizona.
Well, and what was that? Was that one of? I don't know if it was Randall's contest, but it was one of the Georgia contests where you would show up and the man was
Randall's.
Cutting the wood with the chainsaw, like carving the trophy.
Doing the chainsaw art.
He was doing
right there on site.
Yeah.
Yes.
No kidding.
You like pull in and he's making the trophies, and that's what you take home.
That was the Q&A Commons trophies.
Yes.
And I won 80.
Pretty cool.
I had 2 180s. This is Sam's Club all over again for me. We got a chicken and a rib call right out of the gate 180s, and I tank pork and was like a 13th or 14th brisket. And I was 5th place overall at that contest, and I thought Donnie Bray and Tommy Houston was going to melt out of their seats. That was my first experience in Georgia, actually. And I said, I'm coming back over here till I figure this out, till I win, and I did.
I miss seeing Tommy around. I wish he'd get out and cook a little bit more.
He came to Memphis in May this year and hung out with us.
Oh, did he really?
So we got to see him for a little bit.
Tommy and Lisa, great people. I love them.
When are we going to get you to Memphis in May with us?
Maybe next year. Maybe next year.
Well, come on.
I'm not scared of it.
I mean, it's a good time, for sure.
I can watch a mean dish.
Hey, we try to make sure there's not very many dishes.
We got that on camera, so now you can't go back.
That's right.
If I go next year, Candace's going to be like, you remember what you said?
Yeah.
We really want to save knives down there. Everything else is as much as disposable
we just throw
as
it
we
away.
can get.
You got to. You got to. I look around, sometimes people got these 4 bus bins set up at the washing station, and I'm like, you can throw those away,
We used to be those people.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I mean, I used to think you couldn't use the same knife from one category to the next, or to say I had brushes, sauce brushes. Like, well, what if it gets on the pork? And I'm like, shit, dumbass, it is pork. You know what I mean? Pork is pork, and if that judge can taste the fact that I used that brush on a piece of chicken and then moved it on to God bless them. They don't need to be in this room.
So you brought up a good point here. I have a question. Do you change sauces for every category?
I don't.
You don't use the same sauce for everything?
I use the same sauce for everything.
Just like me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to have, 4 different sauces or 3 different sauces. I used to never put any sauce on brisket, and still don't really unless I think it needs a little something.
So you don't sauce the top of your brisket at all and set a bark on it. Your traditional brisket still.
Mine's a very beefy, savory brisket. Yeah.
That is good to know because we were having a conversation the other day at the Jack Daniels with several judges about how sweet brisket had actually gotten. Wow, that's good to know.
Yeah, mine's a very beefy, savory brisket. I mean, it's your beef injection. I use the beef rub, and then if I slice it and it's just kind of ho-hum, every piece of meat's a little different.
Yeah.
Then I might add a little sauce to my au jus and rebrush and you add some more rub or something.
Pop salt.
Whatever I got to do to make it work, because I got 5-10 minutes to fix what I got here. But if it comes out like I want it to, mine's a beefy, savory brisket. Yeah.
I mean, that's the best way to be. I think a lot of people try to accomplish that all on the front end, and they end up getting too salty or too much or too sweet.
Yep.
And doing what you're saying, coming back and doing your due diligence after the fact and getting that little bit of salt or a little bit of sauce or whatever, to ensure. I'm sure since you started doing that, your scores have improved, right?
They become way more consistent. When you're giving a judge a beef brisket, I want them to eat beef.
Right.
I don't want them. They just got done with pork that's, sweet. I'm a vinegar guy, but it's sweet pork. What we turn in KCBS, they just got done with that. I'm not trying to hit them again with a sweet brisket. I've eaten some people's brisket. The texture was perfect. Flavor was decent, but it had a little bit too much sweetness to me.
I agree. I don't like sweetened meat.
Yeah, it's kind of hard for a judge, in my opinion, to judge down a piece of beef brisket when what they taste is beef.
True.
So
Makes good sense.
That's kind of my take on it.
What is your hardest, or the category gives you the most fits?
This year's ribs, for some reason. And I've traditionally been a very good rib cook, but for whatever reason this year, it's just been a roller coaster ride. I can go finish second, third, first in a rib category this week, next week, 15th. And it feels like it's just, for whatever reason, every year is always a different. Last year it was pork for me. And this year my pork's been real good. My ribs has been just not scoring like I want them to. But I corrected a couple of things. As a cook, you can end up, most people add too much stuff. When you score start dropping, I need a little more of this, a little more of this, a little more. Next thing you know, you got 9 ingredients in a sauce or an injection or, using 6 different rubs, and it's like, back to the basics. Let's go back to the basics. We're giving them ribs, let's give them ribs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They need to taste the rib. Kind of goes back to my beef point a while ago is I want them to taste, my chicken tastes like chicken. My ribs taste like pork ribs.
Yeah.
My pork, I want it to be that natural sweet pork flavor enhanced by a little sauce and au jus. That's what I want, and that's what I get.
So are you twisting a little vinegar sauce in with your sweet sauce?
Oh, yeah, baby.
Just to get that twang?
I'm a 50-50 guy.
I mean, that's me too. I like 50-50. I like that way it tastes with the sweet pork. And my pork injection has a little bit of granulated sugar in it.
Yep.
And just because that's Memphis style, they like that sweeter type pork you're describing.
Pork is kind of a natural sweetness to it, and you enhance it just a little bit. You just don't overpower it. I think that's what it needs, but I'm a little 50-50 guy. And of course, I got a bottle of the tangy vinegar sitting there off to the side, because again, if I do some stuff to it, and I'm like, it's just not there. That vinegar and port, I mean, they go together like a husband and wife, man. I mean, they marry each other well. And so if I have to, I'll crack the top of that bad boy and give her another
swirl
dash.
It on there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So have you ever made a salad dressing out of that tangy vinegar dressing?
I have not, but you've talked to me about that a couple of times, but I haven't done it yet.
You just add you some in a shaker, or leave so much in a bottle. Add you some honey to it, whatever sweetness you want. And we do a little splash of apple cider vinegar and shake it up really well.
Vinaigrette?
Over as a vinaigrette.
I bet that's so good. That'd be good to dip some chicken.
And boys at the Duck Club wear it out. We do baby spinach and grilled asparagus and feta cheese or goat cheese and candy pecans. Mm-hmm. And that is
that vinaigrette.
It's a simple, spectacular, easy salad.
I'm going to have to try that next week.
That's good.
Yeah.
After BBQ Contest.
Just don't throw that on the bottom of the pork box you're building, full-on salad.
Yeah, that's right.
For sure.
That's right.
You talked about you went out into the Royal and you had a good cook out there. So tell me about how you felt like everything went at the Royal.
Everything for me went great. Had 2 really good cooks. The Invitational, I think we finished 30th or 31st out of 220, 30 teams, whatever the number was. I think my overall score was a 691, 692, somewhere around there. I mean,
about that.
What do you do, right?
Yeah.
They give you a sticker for a 700, and if you look at the point spread, I think I was less than 10 points out of winning, and that's just a matter of the tables. I mean, you do play a little bit of barbecue bingo out there because of the amount of teams. Yeah. Day 2, the Open. Day 1, I finished 10th in pork. Was just the only quote unquote call I got, but all my scores were above 170. Day 2, the Open, I finished 12th or 13th in chicken. I can't remember everybody. People can tell you what they got. Heath will do that.
I can do some contests.
He's like, 2014, I was down here and I finished blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I can't remember what I did last week, man. I was just there. It was somewhere in the 12th, 13th, 14th range in chicken. And we ended up finishing 15th overall. And I think it's 480 teams. I mean,
can't complain
90
about
teams.
That.
I mean, 697. I mean, less than 10 points again out of win. Dude, I'll take it. I'll take that kind of cook all day long. But traveling, we were fortunate. We had a good travel there, had a good travel back. But I mean, we didn't have any incidents. It's long. We had a great time over there. The cooks went great. They had a little scoring mishap, but I commend KCBS. I mean, they've stepped up to the plate. They didn't hide behind anything. They stepped up. Hey, we did this. We've run new audits. We got it right. Hiring a third party in here. So, I mean, I really commend the organization that we cook a lot and for taking it on the chin and getting it right and making sure they got it right. If they had to change it, they had to change it.
Well, and talking about that, they've done a really good job of getting in front of their mistake, and that's where I think some of these organizations did not do that when they've had scoring mistakes. And it's easy to get off on a keystroke or a judge to call out a wrong number. And these systems, the way they're set up, the way I was described by several people inside KCBS is, if it's not right, it kicks it out. Mm-hmm. And it was something with the sheets, the way they were. I mean, we've seen the Memphis Barbecue Network software do some funny stuff. We've seen Memphis in May, get outdated, the software. And let's face it, that software, I think they said, was like 10 or 12 years old. Yeah. And you're in the business world yourself, and that if you're not really progressing every couple of years on software advancements, it will bite you.
But the thing about it is, if that wheel is spinning the way that wheel's supposed to spin, you're not going to be but so proactive in changing that, because change costs money. Right. And to a nonprofit organization, You know, that it's not just a let's do it. It's got to go before the board. It's got to go to the membership vote. You know, and so they took it on the chin. They've done a great job. Rod has done, in my opinion, a tremendous job staying out front and communicating as best as they can. And I think now it'll help lead to some easier decisions to make some updates. But the fact of the matter is, you're dealing with humans and computers.
Errors,
And both of them have errors. You know, I mean,
It's surprising that it hasn't happened before now, really. And I don't mean that in a negative way.
it was probably a perfect storm that just caused it, but it's okay. It's fine. They got it right.
Most of these contests have no more than 2 people entering scores.
Exactly.
And out at the Royal, we all know, what have you got, 25, 30 tables of turn-ins?
That's a lot.
If not
You've
more.
got a dozen people probably entering scores, trying to integrate into one system.
And they're doing audits along the way to make sure, because I mean, you're just sitting here doing this. I mean, those keys are that far apart.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you're just doing this, and you know, the 6 is right below the 9.
That's right.
You think you hit a 9 and a 6 comes up, and so if you don't have, I know they've got 2 people. I'm sure they got 2 people sitting there just making sure.
I know Memphis in May, we had a talk with one of the operations guys, and it was really cool to find out how they done their scoring. One person over here would run it. They would take the same exact paperwork, hand it to this person over here. They would run it. If it did not come out identical, they knew they had a problem.
So they had a
to go back and
reconciliation
redo it.
process.
They had a reconciliation process.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool the way they done it to guarantee that everything matched up. They were just not giving it to.
Right.
They made multiple copies and handed it to, I think it's 3 people, right? And if all 3 of them don't match,
Something
Something's gotta
went
go
wrong
back.
somewhere.
Well, and if I'm not mistaken, he even said like they hire accountants or something to come in and do it too.
Do an audit?
Or something.
Yeah.
I mean,
And as a member of MBA,
they hire a whole firm
Like a firm.
to come in and
Oh,
manage.
it's
really?
not just
Yeah.
like people.
It's
off-
not employees of Memphis in May or nothing.
Yeah.
They have an
It's
accounting
outside.
firm
third-party-
that comes in
third-party
every year.
vendor they pay to come in
Yes.
and do an audit.
So nobody knows nobody. They're looking
Right.
at numbers up here.
That's all they're doing.
So a lot of people are saying, oh, Memphis in May, you know, they're going to let so-and-so win.
Nah.
No, those people are just that damn good.
Yeah,
I mean-
I've never thought that about MBN. I've never cooked MBN, but I've never thought that about that. An organization that is shady ain't gonna be around for as long as these 2 have, at KCBS and MBN. It's just not going to. Mistakes happen, they happen, but it's just not going. They're not gonna stay around for that long, and they've been around for a long time. They ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
So,
That's right.
Yep.
Wow, that's it's amazing these contests, how far they've come and how far barbecue's come. And
Oh, it's a whole different ball game. Even for me, I mean, you've been cooking a little longer than I have, I think, but 12 years ago everything was a 10 by 10 tent and whatever cookers you brought from the house, and now there's porch trailers and RVs, and
I think it's going to slide back the other way, though.
I think so. It's cheaper to cook out of a tent. I'm cooking out of a tent today. You know, of course, they put us up in a hotel here, so it's just too easy to pop a tent and put the Outlaw under the edge of it and run it that way. But it's cheaper. The entry fees are 20 by 20s are always cheaper than the 20 by 40s just about. And your power requirements, you don't have to pay for extra of that if you don't need it. And I've done that several times this year. If the weather's been halfway nice and I'm going by myself, throw the tent up and go, because I don't need a whole lot.
Well, you don't wash any dishes or anything here, right? You pull everything, throw it in the cooler, and it goes home to a dishwasher, right?
I got one bus pan, and it won't be a 4th full when I'm done, because everything's going to be disposable. What I got is just going to go home and go straight into the dishwasher. I am not washing dishes here.
I've been saying forever I was going to learn how to cook out of a bus tub for simplicity, and I've got to get back to that.
I call it comp in a box. I got one box that has my rubs and all my stuff in it, and then a bus pan. It's got my utensils, and that's it.
That's really all you
And
need.
I don't care if I'm in my tent or if I'm in my RV or if I was in my campers, that's the same setup, because I can just move from one to the next contest, however I want to set up, and not have to have any difference.
Well, that's good to know. Well, Brian, I want to tell you thank you for coming on and chatting with us today and us learning a little more about you. I mean, we've been friends for years, but just having a general conversation, you know what I mean, across here, and people finding out a little more about you. You know, I appreciate everything you do for us, the way you represent yourself as a brand. You go above and beyond. You're a proven winner in our book.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here today from both you and Candace, and I appreciate the opportunity to be a brand ambassador. And it started years ago, and to watch y'all's business blossom in the way it has is just, it's really cool. I love seeing my friends be successful, and we've developed a friendship. It's not just I want to try this rub. We've actually developed a friendship. I can get on the phone with you and shoot a call. Next thing you know, an hour and a half later, we're talking about ducks and deer and ain't even talking barbecue. You know?
That's exactly right.
You know, and so that's always cool. But I appreciate the opportunity to be a brand ambassador, because you don't have to give that to me, just like they don't have to invite me here to the Royal Oak. And so I appreciate that. So anything I can do to help y'all, I'm always here for you. And you know, it's always cool. I tell people, how long you been Heath Riles? I said, well, first beef injection came in a Ziploc bag. He showed it in my house. He texted me, he said, hey, I sent something with them shakers. Tell me what you think. What is it? Beef injection. And it was literally in a Ziploc bag and had beef in it and all that. And I said, let's give her a run, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried and tested, and I've had people that's hung with me, and I try to.
I might have some new stuff coming your
Hang
way
those
soon.
people, yeah.
Show up.
I'll be glad to try it. Be glad to
You might get
give you
tested out these new
feedback.
Glazes coming up.
Man, I've been hearing about those.
For years,
I've been hearing
right?
about them.
Coming. They're
I've been hearing
coming.
about them. I'm excited. There's a couple of them I'm real excited about if what I heard was true. So
Well, the maple honey habanero,
that's the one. That's the one I really, really, really want
brown
to try.
sugar honey habanero, and a cherry apple habanero.
So a cherry apple habanero and the maple honey habanero. Those two, I want to try all of them, but those two are the ones that's really piqued my interest, because I could see me putting those in play real quick.
Well, our cherry's going to be a little bit different than a lot of people. It's got maraschino cherry juice.
So it's
in
got
it.
that nice sweet.
It's
red.
got a really nice sweet red bite to it. I didn't go super hot. Probably on a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably about a 5.5, 6.
I don't think you need more than that, because you don't want to overpower.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I don't want to overpower it. The honey maple is honestly really good. I used a maple powder blended in with the honey, and the way we done it, I think it's going to be a game changer out there.
It's going to be, I can already tell you, I'm going to put it in rib wrap and pork wrap. Right out of the gate, I'm going to try it somewhere. If I get it on a Wednesday and I'm at a contest, I'm not going to not be able to try it at that contest. People say you got to practice cook. I typically do. I'm going to have to roll it in there.
Well, as soon as I have it in hand, I'm going to ship you some to try out.
Send it out. I'll
That'll
try
work.
and give you my feedback and hopefully show you some trophies in the end.
That's right. Well, thank you, Brian, for coming on today.
I appreciate both of you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much.
Ain't nothing like shooting the cue with a good friend.
That's exactly right.
We are here today with Jeff from Shiggin Grinnin, that I'm hacking his last name all up.
Yep.
How do you properly say your last name for everybody out here?
Jeff Vanderlinde.
Vanderlinde.
Just like it's spelled.
All right, well, that don't help me out none. I'm blind too. Well, look, Jeff, for the people that don't know you and know Shiggin Grinnin, first off, I'm going to apologize because they should know you. And second off, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about Shiggin Grinnin, how y'all got started, and kind of what competition barbecue means to you.
Well, I'm from Delano, Minnesota, the barbecue mecca of the world, Minnesota. And I started competing with a couple of my dad's friends, and I had sponsored a barbecue contest. They came to me for prize money, and I went out there that night, and that's when they used to do sponsor dinners. So I went out Friday night and started talking to the guys, and they invited me out. I'm like, I can do this. Easy, but I made the first cardinal mistake because I stayed up too late and I drank too much the night before, so I didn't get back at 5:30 in the morning to watch them. And then cooked a couple of years with some friends of my dad's, and then two of my really good friends from my hometown, Derek Schaunsberg and Ted Moonen, and we formed Shiggin Grinnin, and the rest is history. We've been fortunate to travel all over the world, and barbecue has brought me some of the best experiences that I've ever had. Went over to Singapore and Japan and South Korea for MWR, feeding the troops, with Stretch and Tuffy Stone. And, by far, the world titles, championships, just everything we've done is great. But something like that, to me, was the most fulfilling thing I've ever done in my life. And I had a joke to my wife, including my kids, giving back and something like that. So for me, barbecue has always been a hobby. And I'm very fortunate in my day job that it's something that I get worked up because I'm a high strung guy, but I don't get caught up in the circles and the rumors. And I'm fortunate being from up there. We don't know a lot of people really well, but we know them well enough to stay at their house for a weekend. And everybody knows we've been bourbon before bourbon was cool.
Been bourbon before bourbon was cool.
Yeah.
Well, so talking about championships and all that, what all have y'all won?
We've been fortunate. We've been on every big stage in barbecue but Memphis in May, and you helped me out with that, and we finished 11th first year in Hog, and Heath pretty much gave us the rubs, helped us trim the hog injections, and did everything. But we've been fortunate to win the American Royal overall. We've won a world championship in every category. We won pork at the Royal, ribs at the KCBS World Invitational. We won in the Open. We won brisket, and we won chicken another time. And I'm calling the Jack Daniel's Iron Chef because you know what? Damn it, that's a world championship. The Iron Chef, or no Jack Ball Grill, and Derek and I win that, so I classify it. You know, it's 5, but if we pushed it to that one, it's 6, and it's something that has been unbelievable. You know, the barbecue world for me is the family, the friends, and that's why we're still out here doing it. We're still at it.
Well, one question I have, I know you said it was you, Derek, and Teddy. Well, now Teddy, he's kind of semi-retired, I'm assuming.
You know, unfortunately, COVID knocked Teddy out. So before barbecue, we hunted all over the world. Ted and I did. We both hunted. Africa, so we're just crazy. And with COVID and knocking it out, he got back into hunting with his son. And, you know, he just said, hey, when I'm at home, I'm with him. And we're still good friends, but he's in Wisconsin doing their hunting and stuff like that. So it kind of wiped him out. He made an appearance at the Royal. We missed him driving. You know, the Jack last year, he was down. We had to come back because he went to jail the year before.
I was there when he went to jail, so it was all great.
He was on a peace treating mission is what he told the cops with the international teams. But the argument pursued, and you get his version and we know the real version. So the real version is Teddy gets a little lippy every once in a while, and I think that's what happened. Yeah.
Well, I remember that when it happened, and everybody was making a joke about raising money to get him out of jail.
Free.
Yep, free Teddy.
Free Teddy.
Free Teddy.
That was a pretty good one. So what is one of the most wildest stories you can tell on camera here that's happened in barbecue, would you say?
Oh, man, there's so many. I guess.
Kind of putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, the time that Teddy and Derek hid the trophies and the awards at a contest is just an example. And the organizer came up and they would not start awards until they got the trophies and the awards back. And I had no idea, zero idea that they had taken them and hid them. And they left clues on other people's teams, and these two idiots, it's 2:00 in the morning, so the clues they were leaving, you know, stuff like that. We mess with people all the time. Heck, I was there the day your daughter was conceived. Had something to do with that.
I mean,
At the Shields event.
Yes, you did. At the Shields event.
Yep.
And
You were definitely the good luck charm when I called you and gave you the news that Candace we were having a baby. And it was a little girl. You said, well, is her name going to be Jeff?
Yeah. Jeff and Bell or Fargo.
Yeah, you were I think you figured it out. I mean, we had talked about it, but you were the first one who was like, wait,
Yeah.
Fargo. It had to be Fargo.
So the stories like that, but I had another one that we're sitting around a campfire one night. And the married couple sitting here, and there's another married couple, and I get up to grab a drink or something, and the gentleman comes up to me, Jack, out of South Dakota, and he says, hey, what's that gal's name over there? I said, well, it's Joyce. He goes, okay. Walks back. She comes up to me about a half hour later and says, hey, what's that guy's name over there? And I said, well, that's Jack. So Joyce is asking me that. They were engaged to be married 42 years ago.
Oh, my.
True story. They looked familiar, but they were engaged 42 years ago to be married, and they never got married. To me, that's a cool small world story, too. You know, it's a feel good that you can tell about, too. But the bourbon stories, you know, the jail, yeah, there's a lot of good ones. I've just got a lot of good friends.
So you kind of went on a little bourbon tour on your way here, right?
Yeah. Yep. So we just took some time. For me, we're going to make this 19-hour drive, so let's make a week out of it. So we actually cooked a contest in Wisconsin on the way down. Last year, we cooked the Jack, and we just stayed down here the entire time. So we hit a couple of distilleries, Heaven Hill, Makers, but then just hit a lot of the bourbon bars and stuff like that. And we actually held up about an hour north of here and camped out for a day or two. And we actually practiced a steak. Hadn't cooked a steak since last year at this event, and we sucked ass. So I was like, well, we'll figure it out this year. And but Royal Oak, with the people that they bring in, the steak cooks, I'm never going to beat a steak cook that does it every weekend.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of the pieces of advice teams come up all the time and say, hey, what do I got to do to win? What do I got to do? I'm not winning. My first question is, how many comps do you cook a year? Like 2. I said, you're never going to beat me. And that's not an arrogance thing. It's a repetitive, and you got to be in the game.
Yeah.
100%.
I agree.
You can't do this part-time.
And that's kind of like when I won Memphis in May. I wasn't cooking contests, but I probably cooked 300 racks of ribs at home.
That's right.
And, you know, getting that feel for them, I know what the feel needs to be, know what the taste needs to be, I felt like.
Yep.
And it's the repetitive thing. If you're not practicing, it's just like riding that bicycle. You're not going to be as fast and as good with it.
No. And I don't taste my food. Very seldom will I taste any of the entries. I'll grab a burnt end to see for tenderness if I'm going to put it in. But I know how much rub that I put on it, just by doing this, and I know everything I do is pretty much by feel. All of us that barbecue that we do, we don't want to eat it at that point. And chicken, you don't taste the chicken that you're turning in. It's one of the few categories. This piece could be great, but this piece isn't. So you're not tasting it anyways. Now, ribs for me is feel. Pork, I will taste a little bit to see if it's got the sweet flavor I'm looking for. And, with me, I'm fortunate to be sponsored up, and I kind of know what the stuff tastes like pretty good. And then same with the brisket is more of a feel, but yeah.
What do you feel like, what category gives you the most fits out of the 4 main categories?
Chicken sucks. It always has. So, good barbecue story. I got a call. So we're very fortunate. We're always right in the hunt. I feel we're pretty consistent, and we were 3rd, 4th, and 5th all year. And I made a post that chicken still sucks, and we'd get 3 big meats. And ribs would probably be top 6 every time, and chicken would be 25th and 30th. And a buddy out of Iowa sent me a message and said, hey, do you want some help with some chicken? And he's no longer cooking this year, but he ruled chicken. He sent me an email with step-by-step instructions. Talk me through it. The next 4 competitions, I got 3 grands and 1 reserve. And this is just 2 months ago since I figured out chicken. But you know what? As soon as you figure out chicken, something else is going to fall off anyways. But chicken's always been a struggle for me. I don't get it. I've done legs, I've done thighs, I've done wings. And you know what? Hey, can't be good at everything.
That's kind of what I say too. Believe it or not, I'm a good pork cook, but I consider pork to be my worst category.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Because
I don't know why. Every piece of pork is so different. The money muscle, depending on where the fat vein's running in and at. But I will say I have not cooked a contest since the rule really changed to the whole money muscle cooking only thing.
See, I don't do that. I'm one of the few that do not. I'm cooking a whole butt because these guys are just turning in slice. And I'm still grabbing chunks, and I'm still doing the old school way. And for me, it works. I did go that route for a little bit to try to cheat, and that's all it is. They're trying to make it quicker.
Yeah.
Go cook a freaking steak then. We're barbecuing. And so, no, I do not. I still cook whole butts. I cook 3 whole butts at every comp.
So, you're talking about that kind of, you feel like it's cheating, cutting down to that small of a meat, because of time-wise and everybody doing it.
Yep.
And so thinking about that, what do you think the SCA has grown so much, these one-day events versus KCBS having 2- and 3-day events for a contest? What is your take on the future of barbecue in general? Do you think it will go more toward one-day events, or it will stay the same?
I don't think they're smart enough. I think they'll leave it stay the same, and it's killing it. The steak, you can roll up in a pickup truck, and you can, and what, $150 versus $1,000? However you cut it, a contest nowadays, depending on your gas, is anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500. And I'm a guy that gets my stuff from Compart. I get my stuff from Snake River Farm, so I'm not paying. Well, I'm on R&D. We'll call it that. But these new teams to come out and spend, $1,300. Why? So what I've seen a huge growth in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa, they get 50 backyard teams at comps consistently because they're rolling in. They come Friday night to drink, but then they get chicken and ribs. So you don't have the big expense. And, KCBS with the whole debacle in their scoring system, and I don't say too much because I'm not smart enough to figure it out. There's got to be a solution, but, I'm not your guy. And I think they've lost credibility through that because there's been other issues. At Minnesota in May, Our awards were delayed 3.5 hours because they said the score, and then they had to enter everyone in by hand again, and they had to do that. You cannot tell me when you're entering 60 teams in by hands, all the 9s, 8s, 6s, and 7s, that there's not missed keys. But it's human error, and it's going to happen. And we've all been there and scratched our head, but I've also been on the other side. I've been on the engine tables a lot. But
we've been there too. I mean, it's you got to take, I guess, the good with the bad on some of that. And we were just talking about a while ago, you know, software, human errors, and you run a business too, and you know that every 2 to 3 years you're updating software.
Oh,
I mean, it's just bugs get in it, stuff gets off track. I mean, settings, all that, and I don't know if that's what's happened. I don't know, but I know the MBN's been through this software thing. I know other organizations has, and it's just stuff gets outdated. I mean, it's not nothing, you know, and you throw human error in with it, like you said, a keystroke, the keys are right close together.
Yep.
It's easy to happen. We had this conversation about Memphis in May. I'm kind of repeating myself from a while ago, but Memphis in May, they hire an outside accounting firm to do scores, and they do 2 to 3 sets of scores, give the same ones. Once you get done with it here, it gets passed off to this room, and if they don't match on 2 to 3 different ones, they go back and redo it before it even goes out. You know, which is good independent research.
Well, with them, they said, "Hey, sorry, we're delaying the awards 3 hours, but we want to get it right," and they still never got it right. So I don't know if they don't have the money, you know, because it's going to take money to do it. But I am not going to sit and bash anybody because I love barbecue and I'm stressed out during the week. I don't need to come here and do that. And I take my lumps. I've been on good sides. I've been on bad. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know what they do.
Well, I do tell you, going back to that one-day event stuff, I know SCA, I seen Brett and Ken, and I know they're working on, I was told they're eventually going to do a rib sanctioning only, like a rib association. They're going to do a chicken wing association or whatever, and they're going to try to run these contests, kind of the steak or whatever. They'd love to get grandfathered in by the jack, where it's a beef, a chicken, and a pork, you know, kind of like Texas. I don't know if that would ever happen, if Jack would ever change the rules, but, you know, we were at the Jack last week, and you see about, there's just not as many teams there that I knew, you know, and familiar with, and I feel like that's because of the way barbecue shifted, and contests are not getting 25 teams anymore for qualifiers. They're averaging about 22.
They have nothing to offer. What are you offering your sponsors? There's nothing to drive that, and that's the problem. They need to make a more public, or, you know, the town festivals and getting stability. They got to offer something. You know, for me, Rod Gray right now, he's been in this seat for 2 years, and he got a sandwich. I mean, that guy is just...
And he's a cook like us.
Yeah, he gets it. And, you know, everybody, Rod Gray, but, you know, I noticed that the board's been eerily silent. There hasn't been anything on the board. So, and everybody goes and points fingers and stuff like that. I still think that, I don't know, that's something I don't want to do and I won't do. You got to stay positive during this side.
Well, I think that Rod has the capabilities and the knowledge of being a cook and been around barbecue so long that I think it may take him a little longer to get this straightened out, but I think for the better, he's going to leave the organization in a better place, and he definitely found it, because it's in a show right now.
Yeah, and you know, Rod is the type that he's very methodical. He's taking everything in. He wants to know, and then he'll start making his decisions, which is a smart way. You know, Rod is Rod's a gifted guy, and he's a smart guy, and I think he's the guy to steer the ship right now.
Yeah, no doubt. Yep. Well, talking about, you know, everything, how many contests do y'all normally cook a year?
You know, I'm a little different. We're anywhere from 14 to 20. And fortunate, I think we're at 16 now. We're 5th in the country in ribs. We're top 20 in the other 3 categories and top in the KCBS. You know, because they take your best 10 scores. And I don't know, I got a horseshoe up my ass for sure. But yeah.
How many more are you going to cook the rest of the year?
I'm going to California with Darren. We're going to cook. Darren and I go out and get set up with Sterling, and Darren and I cook under the Grinnin Goat, or we cook under Teddy Camp. We cook about 4 comps a year. You know, that's what's happening too. Our guys are getting old.
I mean, I tried to do that with some guys around Memphis, and they kind of, we went and won one contest, and they kind of was like, we're still going to cook on our own. You know, so that's me. I'd rather just go cook the rib. I need to find a brisket cook and a chicken cook and a pork cook. I just want to have fun.
Yeah, and have fun. And we do it, but we agreed when we're doing it. And we're a team. I don't cook one category. He cooks one. It's live and die. And literally what we did is we dumped everything together.
So you cook different when you're cooking as that team?
No, now we cook the same. We pretty much cook the same. He cooks different chicken than I do, but otherwise our other recipes are pretty much I had a case this year that I forgot everything. I'm 8 hours from home and I didn't have salt and pepper. And that's not me. I am organized. I had no injections. I had nothing, not even salt and pepper. And I had to go around to the teams and borrow everything. I remember going around my honey jar and everybody dumped in what they could spare. And that's what barbecue love is about. And I always said, a wise man told me, you give me salt and pepper and a bottle of ketchup, I'll beat you in tenderness every time. And that wise guy was Darren. And he specifically said, you don't have the balls to do that. And I said, you know what? You're absolutely correct. I don't. Give me some smoking guns and some Cimarron docks, and that's all I need at this point. Yeah.
So where was you at? Let's hear about this story. You were somewhere earlier this year, and they didn't have enough teams to make it a qualifier, and you broke off and borrowed a Traeger from somebody?
Yeah, Chad Ward delivered a Traeger to me.
One Traeger?
One small Traeger. He delivered the 850.
Chad told us that story.
Yeah, he delivered that because Darren and I both have homes in Florida, so that's why we're cooking a couple times down there. And he delivered it, and we went to the cooks meeting, and they had 25 teams, but they had 2 new teams, and everybody was worried about not qualifying. So they said, everybody would break off. Well, I was with Lucky Q, Justin McClellan, and Darren. So them 2 went this way, and I took the Traeger with 6 pieces of chicken, 1 rack of ribs, a small butt, and a half a brisket point. That brisket point is what screwed me. And I won ribs, and I finished 4th overall. But the brisket, I couldn't survive. Yeah, I threw the brisket point on the night before at 10 o'clock because I had to make room.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds like, do you know Drew with Razor Racks?
Yeah, when he did it with the drum.
When he did it with a drum, all in one drum.
Yep.
That is time management at its finest.
Yes.
If you ask me.
It's but for me, it's made it for a great story, and I was excited to do it. I really was. Not that I didn't want to cook those guys, but the bastards made me cook on the other side of the trailer. So I was in the windy side when they were on the good side because we had split sites.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm gonna do fun stuff like that all the time. I mean, me and you've known each other for a long time.
I know. When we gonna go cook a contest? When you want to? I got an itch.
Yeah. You're in. I'll come cook contests with you any day.
All right, I'll fly in Florida or somewhere. I'll come hang out with y'all.
Yeah. You run around your area. We'll get it figured out.
Yeah, I need to do that.
I love cooking with other people.
I do too. I mean, I'm not going to say my heart's not in it. My heart is surely in it. I just don't have the time nowadays to go. I would love to go cook 30 again.
Yeah.
I really would. I've got it in me. I would buy a motorhome like you have.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to go do it. I'd love to go run the circuit one more time, but I can't.
It's fun, and that's why we decided this year 1 or 2 a month. You know what? And that's really what we want to do, and I think that's made it a little bit more enjoyable than running.
So I feel like we've been asking everybody, do you have one contest just that's your favorite contest? You feel like you have to cook that contest, even if it's not a lot of money, it's just that's the one that gives you that feel, that contest.
Oh, American Royal for me. I love people. You know what? We feed 500 people lunch with the tenderloin and the egg roll fry, Anella with a hot dog. We do that. Yeah. For me, and I know it's the biggest one, but to me, it's the time being up there. I don't get to see everybody. Yeah. And we roll the bar out, and it's great. But there is other contests that are near and dear to my heart, and unfortunately, it's always ones that you win. There's a significant, the one was first, but COVID wiped so many of them out.
I know.
Yeah, we've talked about that too. And if it wasn't COVID, kind of like we were just talking about, some contests just aren't making it anymore. It's
sad.
Yeah, they can't pull the contest in, and do it. And I think some of the people need to mellow up because them organizers, they're volunteering and they're just riding them that nobody picked up my trash. You lazy SOB, freaking walk a half a block down and throw your trash away. And I think that's the problem, the entitlement too.
Well, I think that's happened to a lot, and I almost think it's gotten oversaturated. Barbecue Contest was growing so much at one time with the progression of pitmasters on TV, and social media wise, and everybody felt like they could start their own contest, right? You had a lot of teams that were kind of on the tail end of their cooking degree that they become organizers or wanting to host events and do different things like that. And I'm not going to say it's oversaturated, but it's going to be interesting the next 5 years if SCA changes and has a rib association and has this and that, and you can go out and cook one day event and still win $1,500 cooking a slab, 2 slabs of ribs or 3 that was supplied to you maybe.
Yep.
And you got a $200 entry fee and you're winning $1,500 and you're not having, you throw a drum in the back of the truck
and you're done at
you
that
got
point.
a cooler and a pop-up tent and you get the same feel of hanging out with your buddies. You got more time to chill out. I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Still get that little ribbon, because it's amazing how that little ribbon, that one call, frickin' set the hook on all of us.
We were talking about this a while ago. What was your very first contest? When did you win your very first little trophy or ribbon on?
I cooked with another team for 2 years and we never had a call. And they were older and they wouldn't let me do anything. And they actually, talking about people, they switched and they were an organizer. So they couldn't cook it. So me and Teddy and Derek borrowed their trailer, their FEC 100, and something else. And that day, and I hate him for this fact, that day he came up and said, "Don't leave." I'm like, "What?" "Don't leave before awards." And I don't like when somebody, and I remember him saying that. And that day it was probably a 45 team contest. We were 9th, 9th, and 10th. We had 3 calls. And that's what he was telling me, "Don't leave." But I'm thinking, that I win this damn thing? But I don't. It was the only organizer that I had to ever say anything to me, because he was a teammate too. But that was the 3 calls, my first contest. And then it probably took 3 years, 2 years before we won, because I still haven't taken a class. We were trial and error. We were trial and error. It's me and you talking. And learn that. Now these guys can go out and spend $1,000, $800 to take a class, and their learning curve got shortened up by 3 years. And most of them, and not taking, because there are a lot of good cooks, but they're running exactly that recipe, and they still don't know, they still don't get it if something meat doesn't all finish at the same time. The same time,
you can't teach feel. We were talking about that a while ago. No matter what, when I was showing Candace how to cook ribs, when I was so focused on the hog and shoulders for MBN, and she was trying to check them, because they were trying to come off at the same time I was doing other stuff. It's hard to teach that feel, and she's gotten really good at it, considering she's been around it for 5 or 6, hardcore years. But it's hard to teach that
your
feel.
ass 15 years.
Well, 15 years, but I'm talking about you really trying to learn that feel.
Hey, we all know she's the brains of the operation.
No, there's no doubt she's the brains of the operation. I don't want to be the brains of the operation.
You're correct. The feel you cannot teach. You have to keep touching. And I can walk into somebody's trailer and almost look at them now and know which one's going to be there. And, my dad was a butcher. I grew up on the farm.
Really? Your dad was a butcher?
My dad was a butcher. So we roasted whole hogs when I was a kid, and butchered our own and cows, and, that's what we did.
We did the same thing. We done cows and hogs, and we done our own country hams, hung them, and done all that kind of stuff, made sausage.
Made sausage. We don't have country ham up there. We don't, you guys,
I don't eat a lot of
things.
I just remember doing it as a kid.
Yeah, it's always fun to do.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff.
I guess the other question that we've been asking is, do you have a favorite trophy? And I don't mean like it has the most meaning, but it's just like the most unique trophy. Like
on the contest that you go after every year, you may not have won or won. Or
probably not a bowling trophy, but like it's just very unique. That contest has those really cool.
I know what you're gonna say. I think.
Well, it's the Jack, it's the Royal, it's the King of Smokers. Those are the cool trophies. And I'm going to get crucified for what I'm going to say. I don't keep my trophies.
I've heard a lot of people say that.
I recently moved and I had a shed, and I'm lucky, including the bowling trophies. But there was cool smoker trophies where they made them in steel and hand heavy. The one piece was a granite piece, heavier than hell. And when I moved, I told Ted and Derek, I said, "You guys got to take this stuff," and nobody wanted it. So I got rid of it, but I did keep the big ones.
You kept some of your grands, I'm sure.
The Royal, the Jack, King of Smokers, all of the grands and stuff like that. I don't know. I think I'm at a different point in my life that I'm older than a lot of people. And I'm not old. I'm 53, but I'm trying to simplify my life right now. And the room that it took, and I don't want to saturate my kids with all the if something happens to me.
I know what you mean. We have Heath is not at the point of letting go of any trophies yet, but
I'm gonna put them all in my shop.
Well, you guys, you have your shop, you have that, and what's I always said what makes me a little dangerous. I have nothing to sell, so all the stuff that I get into, I don't have an agenda. I am gonna beat you. I always lip off. So I'm gonna beat you with your own stuff. I love to do stuff like that. But I'm not. I'm pretty quiet about it. But if you go out on our table right now with Derek, the world famous Shiggin and Grinnin breakfast, and by the way, and the reason he started cooking that breakfast because he didn't do a damn thing, and we're like, you might as well make us breakfast, dude. You're just sitting there.
It's a good breakfast.
That is the number
breakfast.
one breakfast in barbecue.
I
It is
agree.
me.
It's very
And
good.
it started out just cooking breakfast for neighbors because he only brings a dozen eggs. So we got 6.
Yeah.
So we get 3, get a 3-way.
Yep.
But if you go out there right now, and the organizer, Mankato, came up and we use his trophies, the wood plaques, as levelers for our breakfast table. And if you go out there right now, you'll see there's 3 or 4 because this got some hills. And the organizer, really, you're going to do that? I'm like, dude, this is the best place for him. Everybody gets to see him. So they either went in the fire pit or the dumpster, or everybody gets to see them. So I do keep a couple extra trophies, I guess.
Well, don't y'all have what's the contest where you win the green jackets?
Yeah, that's Wisconsin. It's actually Masters in May. We were fortunate to we're one of the only ones win both days of that.
So you've got green jackets for
I think
that.
I have green jackets.
I thought you was gonna say that was one of the most unique trophies y'all's way.
Yeah, the green jacket is unfortunately that contest is gone now too. And what I remember about that contest is the guys before me, Rod Gray.
I remember him wearing that jacket, that picture.
Yep, Rod Gray and Rich from Barbecue Superstore. It's funny, I can go back and look, and they had people come up past winners, so it was one of those things that was pretty cool. So you're right, that was one of our favorites. We recently lost Adam Shop, a barbecuer with Tim Shop. His 35 years old is a sad story, and those guys out there were some great people to cook with, but unfortunately they were all done too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how barbecue has shaped and transformed so many people's lives and friendships and businesses. And I don't know, it's I'm glad that I kind of found barbecue as my way. I'll say that.
Well, and you were one of the smart ones that got into it, and you saw what it was. And a lot of us maybe saw it but didn't do, and you were the one that took it to the next level, what you're doing on everything that you're figuring out. Because it was, like you said, it was the wild, wild west out there for a long time, and guys did. I look at guys, and I'm not going to mention their name, Tuffy Stone, because I give Tuffy crap that I don't think he knows what he's worth and what his name is.
I agree with that.
Tuffy
He's so reserved.
He's such a nice guy.
He is.
And Tuffy, you're Tuffy Stone, for Christ's sake. And you need to, and I just think that's one of the stuff like that. And so that's not a rip on. It's just saying I think there's a few other people like that, like Tuffy out there that should rule. I mean, I don't know anybody that doesn't like the guy.
Yeah, he's just a really genuine.
He's genuine as they come.
Person.
Yeah.
Genuine as they come. I talked to Tuffy a good bit. We were texting yesterday, a matter of fact. Yesterday morning, we've got some stuff working together, a few projects.
Yeah. He needs your guidance.
He's a really good guy. I don't have much of guidance, man. We go to work every day and work hard, and if something happens out of it, something good happens out of it.
And it's still hard. Like you made the comment. I feel like a lot of people don't realize we are fortunate in what we have done and do, but we're still in a version of the wild, wild west over on this side of it too that people don't see and don't realize the day-to-day struggles.
I don't think the people have any idea how hard social media works.
No.
I think they think you throw out a video and you do this and you do that, and if they saw what you guys put in, you're on a working weekend right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a team effort too. We have several people work for us. Jacob's behind the camera over here now, and
he's not a schmuck. He's not a schmuck. He does a pretty good job.
He does. He does a damn good job. Very fortunate to have found him, and we have some more people in the office the same way. It takes a team of people to accomplish something like this.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, barbecue too. It's hard to go out here by yourself and do that, and you assemble the right team, and stuff always works out when you put the right people in the right places.
I would quit if I did it myself.
I don't
100%.
know.
I would quit because I maybe would do it, but it's Derek and I have been friends 45 years.
Well, look, one thing before we wrap up this podcast, We're going to make a promise. We're going to cook together at some point.
We'll get her done, Bob.
All right, we're going to get it done.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jeff, for
you.
coming on.
Appreciate it.
Talking about barbecue. We always love shooting the Que with our friends. Till next week, see y'all again.
Thank you for tuning in to the Shootin The Que Podcast. If you have any comments or suggestions for future episodes, please feel free to reach out to us on our social media channels or through our website. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. Leave us a review if you enjoyed the show. Until next time, keep shooting the Que.